doctors could mean physicians, it could mean veterinarians, it could mean obviously dentists, anybody that's kind of in that healthcare for people or pets arena. And so that team, they specialize in helping doctors of pretty much any sort grow their business and run their practices better. And so, a lot of physicians of any sort, they're really good at their trade, but some of them, they didn't really pay that much attention in the business classes. And so, this group really helps them run their practice more efficiently and make sure they're sometimes they want to get set up to be acquired. And of course, as that's, there's a runway that you have to go through to make sure things are all in order and all the T's crossed and I's dotted. And so there's a physicians business group. There's of course the CPA firm, the technology company where I sit. We're the largest LBMC company outside of the CPA firm. And so everyone else is significantly smaller than we are. But the beauty of that is it allows us to have the freedom to, do what we need to do every day without the restrictions, I guess, of being inside of that CPA firm. And so, obviously some of our folks are CPAs, myself included. And a lot of our consultants have that CPA background, but not being part of the firm, we don't have all the overhead, if you will, of being inside of that group. So, but that said, I still maintain, bless you, I still maintain 4 CPA licenses: Texas, Missouri, Kansas, and Michigan, where I was originally took the exam and went to college and so forth. And so, it's an expensive check to write every year when all 4 of those kind of come up for renewal. But it's just in the back of my mind. I work really hard to get that first one and those other 3, and I hate to let them go. I always used to kid and say, if this consulting gig now after 28 years doesn't work out, I can always revert back to doing governmental auditing, which was kind of my specialty. Not gonna happen.
Yeah,
but
I thought tax was bad, but that's the only course that I didn't like in college.
No, it is a specialty for that reason, because not everybody wants to dip their toe in that. And so, but that was kind of my sweet spot, if you will.
So unfortunately, Bryan, I failed to click the button enough times. So our audience missed the first few minutes of our discussion. We talked about ITA and that you represent the consulting reseller category of our membership. But they came in about the middle of your explanation of LBMC, which is a really cool organization encompassing all kinds of areas of solutions, trying to make businesses better from pretty much every angle.
Yeah.
And the luxury that you have is the connection to the CPA firm without some of the other things that make it hard to be connected to a CPA firm. I had a tech practice inside a CPA firm. I did a couple of times. Once I was part of a tech group that was affiliated with Elliott Davis, and once with a small firm in Atlanta where I was doing just Peachtree software consulting. And this whole selling concept is very different. I was told I could not mark up the software and we couldn't make a profit on it because it wasn't ethical for CPA standards, which I thought was crazy back then. And so having it in a separate organization makes a lot of sense. But also being there for those clients of the firm who discovered that they needed to upgrade their software or move up to the next level or all of those cool things. It's a great synergy to have between the entities. So first of all, I jumped right into you talking about what you're doing, but you have offices in Nashville, Chattanooga, Knoxville, Louisville, and Charlotte. And were any of those impacted by the yucky, awful storm that came through and messed up North Carolina, Asheville, and some of those beautiful areas?
Yeah, good question. The Charlotte, North Carolina office, of course, we lost power and so forth, but we've got a number of people in North and South Carolina. And fortunately enough, really the power loss was really the biggest thing that people were dealing with. We did have some folks with some trees down and large trees, it sounds like, but nothing on houses or anything. Nobody was harmed at all. Now we do have 3 or 4 people in Tampa, Florida, and so now
With the next storm.
our concern is now shifted to the Tampa area with the
Oh,
hurricane
no.
that's about to hit them in some form or another. So
Crazy.
yeah, it's it's not stuff you ever plan on, that
I
you have to
know.
work around some of these things. But so far, so good. All of our people have been fine.
Well, that's good. Yeah, I grew up in Greenville, South Carolina, so my
Oh,
family is all still there. My mom and 3 siblings, and they were without power for a week. And
yes.
Greenville is about an hour from the North Carolina mountains from
Mhm.
Asheville. And it's not ever in the hurricane path. It usually
Right.
affects the coastal areas of South Carolina and
Mhm.
all of those southern states. And so for all of these folks, all the way up to Charlotte, and Atlanta was hit, and I mean,
Mhm.
it's a shocking thing for people. You just don't know anymore where to go to
No,
avoid the natural disasters. But I'm
no,
glad
for
everybody's
sure.
back. And yeah, my family was all relatively unscathed as well. No
Mhm.
cars or houses were damaged, but
Yeah.
lots of really beautiful big trees all
Yeah.
around,
Yeah.
knocked down, which is really sad.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's good to know. And we're all kind of remote aware these days, so it's a lot
Mhm.
easier than it used to be prior to COVID. I think we all got up to speed quickly on how to do things remotely, how to have systems remotely, and all of that.
Oh, for
Um,
sure.
so, all right. So that's great. And again, apologies for screwing up the button pushing. That's all I had to do was push one button, and I thought I pushed it and apparently didn't until late. So,
Oh, that's the beauty of
anyway, we're glad
technology.
to have you.
Yeah.
We're glad to have you with us, and representing the consulting reseller category of the ITA. We also have CIOs of the top 50 firms who are members, the CAS practice leaders of the top 100 CPA firms. We have software publishers among our membership. Many of them I know, Bryan, you've worked with over the years, as I've been employed with myself. They add a whole cool dimension to what we do. Then we have another category of folks who consult by providing services to our other categories. So a really interesting mix of people bringing different perspectives on how technology benefits both them and their clients. So, and our mission is to significantly enhance the way you and your clients do business. So, Bryan, when it comes to you and your organization, how do the solutions that you provide do that for your clients? How do you, well, first of all, you can talk about whatever applied technology you use internally, but then, what are the tools that you provide for clients do for them? How does it impact them?
Yeah, so that's a good question. Over the years, you kind of take a lot of things for granted. You're putting in a new accounting system, and if it's, Microsoft Dynamics solution, or we do a lot of Sage Intacct work, we kind of take it for granted because we are the technology folks, and we know how things work, and we know the benefits. We use the solutions we sell, we use internally, which you would hope your solution provider does. And so it's not always the case, but it is important. And we use dynamic CRM, and so when we take those solutions to our clients or prospective clients, a lot of times we have to stop and realize sometimes they're coming from either really old legacies, the appropriate term, but let's face it, they're really old solutions, and they ask a lot of questions around the knowledge they have, and they transfer that to anything they might be looking at. Sometimes we have to tell them, and jokingly is like, you kind of have to forget the old system type thing, because your world is going to be so much better and so much easier with this newer technology, and sometimes they have to see it to really kind of start connecting the dots and bridging that gap. And just like back in the day when I was in public accounting, everything was done handwritten. There was the work papers, tax returns. It was literally handwritten. And so when technology came out in the early 80s, to try to say, well, we could print tax returns from a computer program. A lot of people are like, a lot of CPA firms, partners and senior people were like, I don't know if we can trust that. And so we fortunately don't have that in the people that we're talking to today, because everybody is on some kind of technology solution. It's very rare
that or otherwise, they're on
yeah,
something.
they're on something, even if it's Excel, even if they're doing reports in
Yeah.
Excel, there's some
Yeah.
level of technology there. So, we don't have to educate them on, hey, we don't have to worry about the math. I mean, when you print the trial balance or your general ledger, you don't have to foot it. The software, it's pretty much over that, hurdle, as we know we can trust the stuff. But I do think, bringing technology, modern technology, a part of our job as a solution provider is to really help folks understand how that really will enhance their business life, and it could change their personal life. I mean, there's times that we've had people say, hey, our year end is September 30th, and I've got a grandchild that has an early October birthday. I either can never attend because I'm in, the heat of the close process, or we have to push that event to a later date. And then the rest of the family's kind of like, oh, well, I don't know why we can't, do it. And as that kid gets older, it's like, well, hey, my birthday was 2 weeks ago. Why are we having the party at the end of October? Oh yeah, because grandma can't get away from the, the closing. So when we're able to go in and help people to streamline that and shorten those processes, that does change their personal life as much as their business life.
So what products do you implement? So I see Intact, Sage Intact, Microsoft Dynamics ERP,
Yep.
Microsoft Dynamics 365. You got OnBase, which I don't know about that one.
Yep.
And then some other infrastructure related sort of solutions. So when you have a suite of solutions like that, how does that work? How do you decide which one is right for the client?
Yeah, that's a good question, and it's one that we have to educate people on as well. So, Sage Intacct, of course, Sage is a competitor to Microsoft to some degree, but in other areas they are working very well together. And so, the latest with Sage Intacct is we can actually provision that on Amazon Web Services, so or AWS. That's been the default since day one. And Intact is a cloud-only product. It was never an on-prem solution. It was cloud from the first line of code. And so
I think it was somewhere around 2000 they came out with it. Because when I was at Navision, which I left in 01, they were already out and on the cloud, which was very
they were early adopters. Yeah, when things were sketchy, the technology didn't always work and do what it was supposed to, but it's been rock solid, for the majority of that time. Well, so recently now we can provision Sage Intacct, a big competitor to Microsoft. We can provision that solution on Azure. And so who would have ever thought that we could take a competitor's product and host it with Microsoft? So kudos to both of those publishers for shaking hands instead of, throwing daggers. But so Intact is a big one. It's a rock solid financial solution. We don't use it in manufacturing. Doesn't have functionality there. We don't use it too much in complex, kind of higher end distribution. It's not quite designed for that. But anything else, it really is a great fit for. We use it a lot in healthcare. We use it mostly in nonprofit, a lot of service businesses and project-based and companies that do what we do. We sell projects or we sell time type thing. And then the Microsoft Dynamics 365 cloud products, that picks up everything else. And so obviously manufacturing, larger distributors, and anybody really. I mean, it fits anything, but most people tend to kind of migrate to the Intact side of the world if they're just kind of core accounting and small businesses. And then our whole infrastructure practice, which is again all the classic and traditional managed services, if you will, kind of taking care of the servers and if people still have those down the hall or in the basement of the building, getting those into a cloud environment. And we could put those in Microsoft's cloud. We can put those in Amazon's cloud as well. So we do a fair amount of both. And we help clients manage that. So, sometimes they have an IT person, and person being singular. That person once in a while wants to take time off, or they get sick, especially during the pandemic. Things kind of came up that nobody planned on. So we can kind of help co-manage that. We can be their backup. They can be the primary, but if they're stuck or stumped or need to take some time off, we can step in, or we can be everything. So for small clients that they don't have IT folks on staff, we do it all. And so we can play any kind of level of that we need to. And then the on-base product you mentioned, Jeannie, that's a kind of a enterprise content management with lots of workflow. So think document management, which is where it was originally, but it's really bloomed into managing content across the organization outside of the accounting system. Obviously, it works with the ERP solutions we sell, but we see that a lot in healthcare. So healthcare, as most of you know, lots and lots of paper to push.
A lot of regulation also.
Lots of documents that as a patient, you've got to kind of quote, read and sign, and all the HIPAA compliance and stuff. So we can do all that electronically to kind of hopefully get rid of some of that, the literal paper that's still out there. So healthcare and insurance are the two big places that on-base product really fits into.
So we have lots of comments coming in from the folks on LinkedIn. Misty, great to see you here. Misty, one of our longtime big contributors to the ITA, now part of the LBMC team. She says hi. And then I have Bryan Greer. Sounds like a relative because my maiden name is Greer. I don't know if that's the Bryan Greer that I know from Tax Connects or another Bryan Greer, but happy to have you here as well. He says hello to you, Bryan, that he works with a member of LBMC's tax team. So we're happy to have you all here. And so sorry about the start thing. I swear I pushed all the right buttons, but clearly not. So all you missed was me talking about the ITA, and I'll give you some more info about that as we go forward. So I also see the Power Platform, which is including the Power BI and all the other cool stuff. So what is it clients are looking for today, Bryan? What's driving them to buy or implement a new solution or come to your company for help? What's the pain that's making them seek you out?
Yeah, that's it. It usually revolves around a couple of things. One that we consistently see is they can get data into whatever system they have. And some people have gone through a couple of iterations now of replacing, they went from manual kind of paper and pencil type thing to technology of some sort. And a lot of them have gone through a couple of other, re-implementations, a new product, maybe re-implement the product they had. But one that we hear a lot is just they cannot get the data out in the form they need it. So, it used to be reporting. So it was bad reports, for just reports that were non-existent. And that was
Bristol,
a big one.
Right?
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Bristol report and FRX and F9
right.
and all those tools that we all had to learn.
Yeah. Now you're dating both of us here, but you're right. And so now, so now those kind of reporting comments are starting to kind of go by the wayside. And it's really I don't want 12 reports I have to print or look at, spread out on the desk or conference table. I want a dashboard that I can just look at all these various elements. So instead of, having a report of who owes me money, so our traditional receivables aging, I want to see that. And I also want to see the vendor aging, so who we owe money to. And wouldn't it be crazy if I could see that in one place? Well, in most accounting systems, those are separate, with a hard line between them. But in a dashboard with the Power Platform and Power BI and those things, you can pull any data from any part of the system onto any dashboard. And so we are doing a lot with that kind of Power BI, is the inroad in. And so Power BI has been around quite some time now, and a really cool way to visualize the data the way people like, and not the way from, we're talking about, the other hemisphere where a lot of coding is done. Well, they can't possibly figure out what all of us want to see on the planet, in a report. But in a dashboard, we can create that to whatever each customer or each user inside of a customer might want. And so you and I might have a similar role in an organization, but we might want to look at the data totally different, because we come at things differently. So that's the beauty of the Power BI, which is part of the Power Platform now. And Power Platform has its own uniqueness in that is a very powerful tool set from Microsoft and allows us to really build a lot of different and unique things. Apps, if you want to think of it, we're all familiar with apps now from our mobile devices, but we can build apps, we can build entire suites of modules, if you will, that plug into existing ERP solutions. And I mentioned mobile, and everybody now really likes to see all this stuff on their phone. And back in the day, not that long ago, you could read data, but you can actually use, it's not highly productive, of course, so you don't want to do this all day, but you could create entries from your mobile device into CRM or into the accounting system. You can scan things. Of course, everybody knows about expense reporting and how upgraded that is. Thank goodness that we can be at a business meal, scan the receipt, and that goes right into our system, and we can make some notes and code it and so forth. And so, that's really what people are after today. So what they're seeking is better reporting, generally in the form of dashboards, and better integration between either the system they have and something that would never be part of ERP. Like, if you're in the healthcare business, you're never going to bring your patient system, your electronic medical records, you're never going to put that inside of the accounting system, because they are vastly different, but you need those two to talk. And so the integration, integration is big. And we work with a lot of contractors, a lot of construction folks, and those folks are out on job sites all day. They're not sitting at a desk in a pristine office. They've got to see things on their Android or their iPhone, and they've got to know if materials are coming or if they're not. And if they're not, I mean, if they're going to slow down a job or stop a job, they need to know that. And so, of course, AI plays into all of this as well. And you can use a lot of predictive analytics around what the weather's going to be. So let's pull in from a weather site what the forecast is going to be over the next 10 days and how that's going to affect our delivery and so forth. And if we're building something outside, that's kind of important stuff to know. And of course, the longshoremen were just on strike, a mini strike, I guess, for a couple of days. Well, talk about people scrambling and trying to figure out, okay, what's this mean? If the supply chain goes down, what's that mean for my business? And we suffered through that in the pandemic, big time. And so, all that stuff pulled together, sitting on that power platform to really let people, not just look at what has happened. So here's kind of the rub from the accounting standpoint, is we got so ingrained into looking at history from the accounting standpoint as what has happened. Well, then we kind of graduated a little bit to maybe see, what's happening today instead of just historically. But the predictive side of it is, okay, we know what's happening today, what's going to happen tomorrow and why? And then more importantly is, what can we do about it if we need to change it? And that's where I think companies like ours really bring value to customers, is not just in the history. That's the required stuff. We got to do that for, government compliance, tax returns and audits, whatever. But where are we going, and how do we change the course of where we're going?
So, I work with wineries in Napa Valley. I'm still in a CPA firm part of the time, and I'm also teaching accountants to deliver advisory service. And the biggest thing that I'm saying from our clients is exactly what you said. Mm-hmm. I need timely and relevant insights. I don't just need historical data. I need to understand things like, if this client buys this wine, what else do they drink, so that I can make decisions in the moment, and so that my sales team can make decisions in the moment. And we're spending a lot of time trying to find the right tools for those folks to get the insights they need. But we also need actionable information, which for us means going down to the level of the front lines, and not just financial data, but non-financial data, which means you got to use something like Power BI to bring in that data that gives you what you really need to make a change. And much of our focus, we've all been in the profession for way too long, has been on getting the history right, and we give it to people 6 months after it's over with. Yeah. And that doesn't help anybody. And I mean, there's real desperation from what I see on the part of business owners to have what they need faster, and they don't want to go into the accounting software to get it. They want it to be in a tool that's set up for them that's visual, like what you're talking about doing in Power BI.
Yeah.
So I think there's a huge opportunity for us to really get better at making that possible for our clients. And so far, I don't think we've done a great job, but I'm glad to hear that you're doing that. So what kind of people do you need now in your side of the house at LBMC on the technology space? Are you hiring different skill sets than what we used to do, which used to be very technical in orientation, not very good at people, both on the software side and the accounting side? What are you seeing now in the people that are most successful in working with clients?
I always tell people I need to hire people that are a lot smarter than I am, and then we're generally okay. But we still need the technical folks because there still is technology under the hood here. So we need
a lot going on.
We need the technoids, if you will. But I would say, Jeannie, we really look now at people with more business savvy than technical, because let's face it, you can teach most people that are, have a pulse. You can teach them the technology. I mean, they can learn that stuff. But you can't teach the business skills. If people haven't worked in it, when we go in and talk to a contractor, I mean, if you've never worked in construction, and you don't know what it takes to erect a building or even a house, you're going to have a hard time having a conversation with a general contractor or an electrical contractor. If you've never been in the shop floor, you've never worked in manufacturing, it's really hard to connect those dots, when you talk to someone that's got a manufacturing plant or 10. And so I think, we look at that business as what business skills do people have? And I think that's as valuable, if not more so, than the technology side, because like I said, you can teach the technology, you can teach the software, you can teach someone how, a general ledger or payables or, work in process works. I mean, they can learn that, but to really connect the dots, they kind of have to have that business background. And that makes it, we're more valuable to our clients when we bring that business background instead of just, hey, we can teach you a new software program. I mean, that's kind of a, 2000s mentality is, we'll show you how to use the software. Most of our clients, because they've gone through this, it's not hard for them to learn. I mean, payables are payables, right? We're not moving debits and credits around. There's still a hardcore accounting engine at the end of the day. They want to know what's going to make us really maximize the value of these solutions. And we only get that from knowing how it really affects their business and not just click here to do this function.
Yeah, and one of the things we train advisory folks to do is to ask, is it a people or a process issue when they're working with the client who has a complaint? Usually an owner, something's not working, Sally's not doing what I need her to do, or my team's not delivering. And we always refer them back to is it a people thing or is it a process thing?
Exactly.
And most of the time it's a process thing. And that's the critical understanding, not necessarily knowing how the processes work, but being able to map that for a client is how you can come up with the best solution, whether it's an accounting solution or a software solution. We need to be able to walk them through the flow of the business so that we can align with that, or potentially revise the process to better support the system that we're trying to implement. Because I know you've seen this. I have an old piece of software and I designed everything I do around the old limitations. And then you bring me a new piece and I want you to make it as clunky as the old one that I had.
Exactly.
It's a big challenge.
Exactly. That's a challenge. You're right.
Yeah. And, when you've invested the 10 years of your life in figuring out how to work around somebody's limitations or some software's limitation, it's a very difficult thing to give up all that expertise and start over at square one with a new solution.
Yeah.
But that's part of what we have to do for people, I believe, is make them comfortable.
It is. Yeah. We got to get them across that bridge for sure.
Yeah. That the new stuff is going to outweigh the stuff that they have to give up in order to be successful. So when you're sitting in your office doing what you're there to do, what does that look like? What is most of your time devoted to? Recruiting, or is it strategy, or is it figuring out what's the majority of your time day to day as president of LBMC Technology? What does that look like?
Yeah. I usually tell folks when they ask that question, what do you do? I usually say I do what no one else will do. And so, which is somewhat true, but really doesn't occupy my whole day, thankfully. But we've got really, really, really good superstar folks on our team. But most of the time, Jeannie, my what I should be doing most of the time is working on strategy. And that includes, what's the next big thing in technology so we don't miss it as a technology solution provider to our clients, is what's coming down. That's why I'm part of ITA. And, I mean, I want to hear and I want to look at and see what's coming, because I don't want to miss it. Or if it's coming and it's not going to be valuable, I don't want to invest a bunch of time and resources if it's, if it's just a flash in the pan type thing. So I do spend a lot of time on that, and then, growing our company. And so we have some pretty lofty growth plans for the next 3 to 5 years. And part of that will come organically. Part of that will come from acquisitions. And so I spend a good amount of time on, thinking about acquisitions and talking to folks that we might be able to tuck in or might be a good fit for LBMC. And then, how do we just grow the company organically by offering more services to the clients we have, obviously finding new clients. So that's the lifeblood of any organization is finding people that don't know about us today. And thankfully we have a good marketing team to do the heavy lifting on that. But I, think about ways that we can provide things that maybe we aren't doing today that we could or should be doing, and offer those services to the clients that we have and those that have trusted us for, some of them decades.
It's hard to stay ahead of it, isn't it? There's so much new stuff every day, and which AI flavor do we want to follow? And which one do we want to invest in and apply? I know Microsoft Copilot's becoming systemic, especially if you're already doing as much as you're doing in the Microsoft family. But I'm still not sure that anybody's getting the benefits that they're promised yet, because we're still worrying about how do we protect secure data for clients and all of that. And still get the benefits. I think I'm doing a lot of stuff with content writing and things like that, but nothing with analyzing financials or doing a whole lot more than that. But I know we're all looking for it, and there's among our membership at the ITA, it's one of the things that we need to talk about. But when we go to ask people, what are you actually doing with it? They're kind of like, well, we're not doing that much yet. We're still figuring out what that's going to look like for our own internal team use, much less what we're going to do on the client side. So it's still, I think, in the ultra mega hype stage. We're getting to the beyond hype, but it's a bit out there. But we've got to stay abreast of all the changes and advancements. I mean, the fact that Chat GPT, $20 a month, can actually store things in its memory and then play based on that is got to have a huge impact on all of us. If I can tell it, remember this, and then get smarter and smarter based on other things, it's got to be something we need to be leveraging better. Hopefully that will happen. So so you want to say something else on that one? Go ahead.
I was just going to say it's revolutionary. I mean, AI, artificial intelligence, is one of those things that comes along sometimes, in someone's working career or maybe natural life, that will revolutionize how business is done. And of course, that affects all of us, regardless of whether it's, we're providing solutions or we're consuming solutions. We do both, of course, but that is such a major thing. But you're right. We've got to get our arms around, what do we actually do with it that's productive? It's been fun and it's kind of cool to play with, but what do we do that actually, makes our business lives or personal lives easier? And there's a scary side to that. There's always a dark side to things that revolutionize people's lives. And so, we have to harness it, but we have to be careful about how we do that and make sure that we don't, get too aggressive with it and find out it comes back to bite us, so to speak. So, but
you don't rely on untested information and things like that. It's easy to start to trust it because it seems like it's smart, but it's scary. So that brings us to our next and final topic before we wrap things up, about what's your favorite goobery techie term or least favorite term that you hear bandied about in your world that people are talking about?
Oh gosh,
it used to be synergistic stuff, and it used to be paradigm shift and words like that. What are they talking about today?
Yeah, there's so many of those. I mean, you could write a book literally, right, and fill that very quickly. I think the digital transformation, that was hot a long time ago. I think it's kind of, me personally, I'm kind of over that. Some people might say, oh, it's still relevant, but I think, nobody really knew what it was for the first few years that people were using it. And now we figured it out and kind of moved by that. But I think it's kind of humorous, but one that won't be in anybody's dictionary or lexicon or what any of those other thesaurus. So there's not going to, but this was used in a conversation when I was back when I started, was really early in technology, kind of starting out. And I was getting some message. I don't remember what it was, but I remember this part of it is one of my coworkers at the time said, oh, that's an ID10T error. So I, like the letter I, D, and then 10 and T. So I'm like ID10T. And I said, can I look that up on, somewhere? This is before the internet, and they're like, no, you can't. But I said, okay, well, explain it to me. Well, ID10T is code for the word idiot. And so some of you might have heard that. So that's kind of stuck with me for a couple of decades. And I use it on myself sometime. I'm like, oh, Bryan, I think that was an ID10T. And so it's kind of a humorous one. You have to be careful where you use it. But that's one that kind of has stuck with me over the years for whatever reason.
Yeah, I think we're still talking about the ecosystem thing is big. We're talking about the ecosystem. We're still saying things about, we're still debating do I want everything in one suite or do I want the best of breed? Yeah. We're still fighting that battle a little bit. Do I want it all in one package or do I want all the best tools all rolled in, which makes life complicated, but presumably you get the best of each thing if you can figure out how to make all the data flow.
Well, and that's the thing. And there are a lot of people out there, Jeannie, that they want everything under one umbrella. And I get it. I mean, that stems from when things were totally disconnected and there was not integration. So you couldn't, if you had 5 different systems, they did not speak to each other in any way, shape, or form and were never going to. So we're going back into the 80s, early 90s. So I understand this. It's got to be under one umbrella. But I will say that most publishers, and from the very largest of Microsoft and Sage to the very smallest out there, it is really difficult to get top-notch everything in one package. I mean, it really is. Even Microsoft, even on the server side, Windows and all their kind of original stack of tech products, they buy a lot of stuff and plug in and they integrate with a lot of others because even they can't get everything. To get 10 out of 10 scores on every single module in an accounting system,
it's impossible.
You can't do it. I mean, something's got to give. And so, I think best of breed is really the thing now. And the reason it works now and it didn't in the 90s is because now those things communicate. They talk to each other.
We have open databases.
Yeah, the APIs, the openness of all the products, the integrations that are available. That makes it all work. And then you can get really the best of the best out there. But, to go into a new system or whatever it might be thinking, hey, I want every single thing under one umbrella, payroll's a big one. People that make payroll, some of it's okay, some of it's not. And so, and then HR and all the requirements around that. You can't expect the publishers that make really good core accounting solutions to be experts in HR laws in 50 states. And, it's just not going to happen. So.
Yeah, I think the pendulum has swung back and forth numerous times, and we're still trying to figure it out. And I mean, because there's so many apps that are in the same space, it becomes difficult as a consultant to stay on top of what the best solution is. I think at the end of the day, we have to do what we've always done, which is really understand the unique requirements of that client. And then based on that, we try to find a match versus having a toolkit and trying to use it in every single client, which I don't think serves anybody well. So there's so much opportunity out there. The tools have advanced. The development environment has advanced and progressed.
Yeah.
To the point where, I mean, I can go into ChatGPT and have it write code for me that works. I mean, it's
Well,
amazing.
right. Yeah.
I majored in accounting and programming, and none of my code ever worked. So now I
Yeah.
can use ChatGPT to go in there and tell me how to write a code. I can run a
Yeah.
Python script without ever having learned it, and
Yeah.
make it do analysis of documents in a folder and things like that are incredible. So I think the programming
Yeah.
capabilities of what we can do with the AI tools is going to help us
Exactly.
in all cases. But the development, and again, many of the vendors in the accounting space, at least, that provide tools for accountants are still on old technology.
Oh,
And so
sure.
we are still hamstrung by
Yeah.
closed databases and
For sure.
disconnected information. And we can't always get a client view across all of our applications, which is just mind-boggling to me
Yeah.
and really frustrating.
Yeah.
But they're getting there very slowly. I mean, you're looking
Yeah.
at tax solutions that are still DOS. They haven't
Yeah.
moved to cloud, and the ones
It's
that are on the cloud don't have the full feature set yet. So
that's crazy.
um,
And yeah, it's
we're
crazy.
moving quickly, but not quickly enough in some areas.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Yeah.
So yeah. So with that, I'm going to start wrapping us up. Bryan, it's
All right.
been a pleasure to learn about you, about LBMC and all the flavors of LBMC and the technology solutions that you offer your clients. Sounds like they're very fortunate to have a team of your caliber on their side. If other folks are listening that are members of ITA and you want to be on this chat with me, and hopefully I won't start it late like I did this time, you have to be an ITA member. You can reach out on ITAalliance.com. There's a sign up link for the LinkedIn live sessions. I'd be happy to talk with you. We rotate through the different member categories that we have, which I shared early on, ranging from CIOs of the top 50 firms, cash practice leaders of the top 100 CPA firms, the top consulting and reselling organizations like LBMC and many other great organizations. I think we have 68 of those top firms across all different product categories as members. We also include technology partners who are publishers of accounting software and other technology solutions for our partners, other members, and their clients. And then we have consulting folks who provide services to our other members. And hopefully I haven't left anybody out. But we have a wide and diverse group of folks, and we all come together at member determined events with all the content controlled and selected by the members and then delivered by our members. So we're sharing our secrets with each other in a very unique way. And so we have our upcoming collaborative coming in the fall, some great content and outside keynotes, and much to celebrate when we gather on 11/3 and go through election day, which is going to be a very interesting time to all be together. So I want to thank you very much, Bryan. It's been a pleasure to learn about you personally and all the great things that you're doing out in the world. It's my pleasure to host this chat. And I look forward to seeing you in Indian Wells, I hope, Bryan.
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right.
No, I never miss, but thank you so much, Jeannie, and thank you everyone for attending.
My pleasure. Thank you all for joining us. And again, apologies for the clunky start, but hopefully you got some interesting insights anyway. So thank you very much. Take care and have a great rest of the week, everybody.
Bye.
So stay with me, Bryan. I'm going to take off the stream here.